Hello and welcome back to my craft room. Well, after a seriously bad art day yesterday, you may have seen the results on my last video. I'm ready to get back on the proverbial horse and have another go. So I'm catching up on last week's class in the Badass Art Journaling course that I was lucky enough to win a free spot on. So this was with Pamela Vosseller. I can't remember how you say her name. I'm going to link to her anyway. And she was showing us how to do, it's called, I think generally people call it paint over or paint over collage. It's a thing that's been around for a while. I've tried it a few times, where you take an image, usually people do it with faces and they could do it with anything. You kind of collage it down with other pieces to create the background, and then you paint over it. It's a really nice way, like Pamela said, to get used to the structure of faces, to play around with some ideas, put your own spin on the face, you know, and yeah, it's really fun and quite relaxing to do. So I'm hoping this would be a good one to get me back into this art journal. Move on from yesterday's episode. Okay, so let me show you what I've got to play with. So I've found I keep a lot of magazine images when I can get hold of them. I don't ever buy magazines, but I did have a whole bundle I scrounged off my hairdresser a few years back now. I don't go to hairdressers anymore, and hair magazines are really good for getting faces like this. So I quite fancy using this one. I think it's a really stunning face. She won't be beautiful by the time I finish with her probably, but so I've got rather than just using sort of random collage pieces, I thought I'd pick out a couple of actual images from my backgrounds. These have come out of, I think this was the Royal Academy magazine. One had a membership to that, and then this was from a magazine. And what I'm thinking I want to do is turn her into my version, like a modern take on Diana, the goddess Diana. Now, I've always thought that Diana was primarily to do with hunting, but I've looked her up and gone much more to her than I thought. She's primarily considered a patroness of the countryside, hunters, crossroads and the moon, as she's roughly equated with the Greek goddess Artemis. And I believe there's something about, she's considered a virgin goddess and protector of childbirth. Yeah, so I think, you know, a strong looking character like this with the moon, this is a blood moon. I don't know which way up it's supposed to be, but I'm not going to worry about it. It's going to go whichever way up I fancy. And I love this. This is obviously a piece of it looks like a tapestry, doesn't it? This is obviously advertising someone's exhibition. So I can't use this as it is, but what I love about it is the colours and some of these symbols here. I love these colours in here. I love this whole mixture of colours. Deep orangey, burnt orangey kind of colours in that blood moon, and I love how that echoes the colours in her eyes. She's got quite a lot of sort of amber colour in her eyes. And then I thought, well, I don't know how well it's going to show on the camera. The highlights on, I like how the highlights on her hair there have a sort of almost violet blue kind of colour to them. I thought that I like the way all of that works together. I've got out my little colour wheel I thought I'd show you to help me pick a colour scheme, and what I'm going to do is go for a tetradic colour scheme. So this, it could be a square, it could be a rectangle. I'm going to go for this rectangle. So a tetrad colour scheme is where you have two pairs of complementary colours. So in this case you've got yellow orange and red orange. So you look at where the corners are, and you've got blue green and blue violet. So the red orange is a complementary colour to the blue green, and the yellow orange is a complementary colour to the blue violet, and I'm going to be using all four of those colour families. These little colour wheels are so handy. It's like, you know, if you just want to pick like a complementary colour scheme, I could say I wanted to, well, say I wanted this to be one of my main colours, yellow green. I can look right opposite, and that will give me the complementary colour. So you could just pop a little bit of, normally you don't want equal amounts, you know, complementary colour scheme. You want one, this, you know, settle on this as your main colour, but just have pops of the complementary colour. Otherwise it can get a bit much. Then there's split complementary, where, so this would be my main colour, but then I'd use a violet and red, and you can see because it points, it tells you it's split complementary here. and points you where the colours are. It's so easy to use. And then there's triadic. So again, there's my yellow green, and we've got, and then these are evenly placed around the wheel. So we've got the yellow green, red orange and blue violet, and it explains it all on here. They're really good. They're cheap little things, these, but they're so useful. They talk about analogous, that means colours next to each other. So if you use these 3 colours or these 3 colours, that would be an analogous colour scheme because they're next to each other on the wheel. You can't really go wrong with those. It's always going to be harmonious. So you could pick 3 analogous colours, and then just do some pops of something opposite on the colour wheel. What cool colours are, what warm colours are. It's really good. And then on the other side, you can use it. So say I wanted to use some of this blue green. What would happen if I added red to the blue green? Oh, I'd get that really nice purple. What would happen if I added yellow to it? What would happen if I added white to it? So you move that around so it lines up, and then you look in the window. What would happen if I added black to it? Move it, line them up. You get a deeper shade of it. Such a handy thing, and it's got the grey tones there as well. And it tells you what's a hue, what's the meaning of tint, tone and shade. Yeah, very, very useful little things, these. So I've got my yellow orange, which you can see picks up the red orange, which picks up the moon, and there's colours in her eyes. And then opposite to those, I've got the blue green and the blue violet. So I've got all the colours that are appealing to me about this little selection of pieces are in this colour scheme. So that's what I'm going to do. So the next thing I need to do is roughly cut out these pieces and place them on my page and decide what I'm doing. And then what I usually do is I'll Pritt stick them down first, but I've also got some matte gel to go over and make sure they're properly down. And I think once I've got perhaps those and just filled in with a bit of background colour, I will probably do a coat of transparent gesso. I love this stuff, that's why I buy such a big pot of it, because it's quite expensive if you buy the smaller pots. But that just gives a clear coat over the whole thing. It will take this shine off as well, and I don't like the shine. And then it gives it a little bit of tooth as well. Some transparent gessos have got more tooth than others. This is quite a gritty one. So if I want to use colour pencils, it'll work quite well as well. And once I put that layer of transparent gesso over it, or if I used, a layer of this, if I need to, once I start painting, if I want to take a bit off, I can scrub back. I will scrub back to that point. I won't lose everything. Everything that's underneath that coat will be protected. After the disasters I had over the last couple of days. And I wish I had a back button. Well, a number of times in real life I've wished for a back button. So in effect, yeah, I'll be giving myself a little back button there, because I can at least go back to the point where I put that coat of transparent gesso or the matte medium on. So I'm going to cut some of these out now and arrange them on my page, and then I'll come back to you. Right, I finished sticking this down and I've given it a coat of the transparent gesso. You can see it's a little bit wrinkly here and there. I aren't going to worry about that too much, because by the time I've got a few layers of acrylic paint over, I don't think it's going to be either here or there. So and you'll also notice that there's still a bit of a sheen, but a lot of that shininess, magazine paper shininess, has gone because I've got that coat of transparent gesso. I could put another coat and it would be even more so, but I think this will do for now. And it's got that, like I said, that kind of tooth to it now. You can hear it if I do that, a slight grit to it. So it's really nice for using pencils on and things, as well as the paint. I'm not going to worry about that word being there, because I can paint over that. I'm starting to think it might be quite nice to have an owl, because in a way, an owl's a hunter as well. I used some of the offcuts of the piece that I cut this deer from, this stag from. I used some of the offcuts to make her robe. I quite like some of those little symbols and things, and I might accentuate them as well. There's a little picture of the hunter with his bow here as well, which will probably end up disappearing in the grand scheme of things. That's part of his bow there, but I know it's there. And I also sort of fashioned this golden crescent necklace type thing, because it's supposed to look like the crescent moon. And I started making her a kind of a crown, and then I thought, no, I want her to be more modern. I don't want the crown. I'm going to keep that kind of this kind of hairstyle vibe, this short hair, and yeah. Obviously this is overlapping here. I don't think this is going to end up yellow, certainly not a bright yellow like that. It will be more silhouetted against the moon, I think. So I've gone back to my colour wheel to check my colour scheme. So I've got the yellow orange, the red orange, the blue green and the blue violet, and I've dug out a whole lot of paints. For the blue green I've got this deep turquoise acrylic, and I just need to add different amounts of white and black to get different tints and tones. So here they're telling us that we've got shade, tone and tint, and a shade is the colour mixed with black, a tone is the colour mixed with grey, and a tint is the colour mixed with white. So I should be able to get all of those. There's a black, oh here it is, a black and a white. It's all different kinds of acrylics. Some of these are quite good ones and some of these are cheap as chips, but for this it really doesn't matter too much. So that's my blue green taken care of, and I've got the black and the white that I will be able to mix with everything. Then I've got the blue violet, so I've got this indigo blue, and I also got a Payne's grey out because that's kind of a bluey, like a bluey black, isn't it? Bluey grey. So that'll help with her hair and the night sky. I may need to get an ultramarine or something out. I'm not sure. I'll see once I get in there. So that's the blue violet and the blue green. So for the yellow orange, I've got a cadmium yellow. So here's my colours that I'm looking at. And I've also got this Titan buff. If I need to, I've got a little bit of red or orange I can add to that as well. The red orange, so I've got an orange and a red. I've also got this burnt umber, and I've got this, it's called portrait pink. I hate that. And I never use it for portraits, or maybe just as a mixing thing because it's kind of softer than white, but you can see that's quite a good match for that sort of colour there. So I've got those. What's this one? Oh, that's the yellow. And then I've also got this quinacridone nickel azo gold. So this is quite a transparent one. You can see how transparent it is by the swatch there. And sometimes that's nice for doing a glaze over things to warm everything up. So I mean, I might end up in that once I get into the flow of things, I might end up giving her flowing hair or something, and you know, and I always quite like using this in the hair as well. So at the moment I'm thinking I'm going to keep it short and cropped. I like these pieces coming down, and I like the blue violet in it. And then there were just a couple of things that were extras, not actually in that colour scheme, but I might want, so I thought this gold would fit in beautifully, so I'm going to try and find an excuse for some of that. Perhaps it'll be on here, because a lot of this patterning and everything will just be covered up. I'll just end up painting over it on this bit. On this is going to look like flesh here, whatever skin tone she ends up with, really. And this is a deep madder, which doesn't really fit with the colour scheme, but I sometimes find it quite nice for lips and cheeks and things, so we'll see. So I think what I need to do first is get the background in, because if I start putting the lights and darks on the face first and then I put a big dark background, it'll make everything look different. So I think I just want to kind of block in the background, cover up these bits, you know, like here, and that bit, just to start getting a feel for it. And although the temptation is to go straight for the face because I love doing faces, I need to get a bit more in place first. So I will record a little bit of that, and then I will come back and show you when I'm ready to move on to the next sort of stage. Right, I've made a lovely mess here, but it's going a bit better than yesterday did. I'm going to go off and let this dry for a bit, and I think then the next step will be to go in with my coloured pencils. It might be that if I now, after a few coats of this acrylic paint, there might not be enough tooth left for the pencils, in which case I'll have to give it another coat of transparent gesso. And I might also consider just doing a glaze of the Nicolezo gold over the moon and her skin, but I need to let all of this thoroughly dry first, so I'll see you when I'm ready for that. I think I'm done with the painting now. I may do a bit more into the sky, I'm not sure, but right now all I want to do is add some details with the colouring pencils, and possibly just a little glaze with the Nicolezo gold, because I just think that will kind of warm up the moon and perhaps warm up her face a bit, but it's a bit scary because once I put it on I can't take it off really. Doesn't really show up too well on the camera, but it just has this real glow to it in real life. I'm just going to test a little bit out down here where I'm not going to mind too much if it goes horribly wrong. It does give kind of a nice glow to her, so I'm going to do it, but I'm going to have to wipe off a little bit as well as I go. Kind of wish now that I used the matte medium to stick these pieces down, because the Pritt stick hasn't really done it. Get some of that extra off. Just kind of unifying her skin tones a little bit, I think. I'm going to put it over the eyeballs as well. I don't want them to look too white. Oh, I don't want to have liver disease either. Okay, just use up that last bit. I'm quite enjoying doing this thing where all my extra paint from every project is getting brushed off on the outside of the journal. So it's like a little record of everything I've been doing, and then when the journal's all full I can paint the title straight over it. That's my plan. Just want to do a bit of touching up the deer as well, and their clothes, so I'll do that, and then when that's dry I'll just do the last few details on the face, and then I'll take a picture and pop on the end. So thanks very much for watching. I'm a bit happier with that than I was with what I did yesterday, thank goodness. I hope you enjoyed watching. I'll probably come in tomorrow and think, why have I painted that all yellow? But she's catching the glow of the harvest moon. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.